All right, music fans, welcome back. Harmless Dave here, talking about real music in real time for a couple of real people out there just like you and just like me. More drama today. This time it's Axl Rose. Not Axel Foley, but Axl Rose. Check out this band. Follow No One is the name of the band, and the album is called Fate. This is modern rock. It's somewhat progressive. It's somewhat alternative. It does a lot of different things, and it's not really in one category. These guys sent this to me a while ago, and I really appreciate their message more than anything else. The music is interesting. It may not be in your wheelhouse musically, but I found it to be very good, especially listening through the headphones. I really enjoyed the production value on this. So check out the band, follow No One. It's good advice, and their album called Fate. Now, the fate of Axl Rose is apparently going to be decided by a New York jury, possibly. We'll see. Axl Rose accused of sexually doing something in a new lawsuit. I have to be careful with the language here because YouTube, this may be against their guidelines talking about this kind of behavior. So anyway, everybody knows Axl, lead singer of Guns N' Roses. He's been accused of assaulting a Penthouse magazine model in a lawsuit filed Wednesday in New York. Model and actress Sheila Kennedy, so she's an actress, right? Identified as the plaintiff in the complaint, alleges that Rose violently blankety-blanked her in 1989 after they met at a New York City nightclub, and is suing the singer for battery, assault, and get this term. This thing jumped out at me. Gender-motivated violence. Gender-motivated violence. What the heck is that? Well, that's a new term to illustrate the fact that sometimes men are motivated to do things, and if they weren't men, if they would just be like non-binary, neutral, and stop being men, that this wouldn't happen. So it's blame the gender. It's gender motivated. It says right there. Wow. Orwell. Orwell was so right about what was going to happen. And intentional infliction. He did this on purpose. Intentional infliction of emotional distress. The lawsuit was filed on Wednesday with the New York State Supreme Court and was obtained by CNN. See, this is a perfect story for CNN. Kennedy is suing for an unspecified amount. I bet you it's in the millions. That's what I would bet. According to the complaint, the incident occurred when Rose was at the peak of his commercial success, which is true, and alleges he used his fame, status, and power as a celebrity and performer in the music industry to gain access to manipulate, control, and violently blankety-blank Miss Kennedy. The complaint describes an incident that took place in a New York City hotel room where Kennedy alleges Rose, now 61, knocked her to the floor, dragged her by the hair, restrained her hands, and proceeded to do some stuff while he was in a violent or volatile rage. Okay. Kennedy did not consent and felt overpowered. She understood the safest thing to do was to lie in bed and wait for Rose to finish assaulting her. Did Rose drag her up to this hotel room? I'm wondering. As a result, Kennedy has suffered severe emotional, physical, financial, and psychological distress. We expect that Sheila Kennedy's decision to file this suit will be an important turning point for the music industry. This, according to Dr. Ann Oliverius, chair of the executive committee at McAllister Oliverius. Okay, I'm not sure what that is, but this person must be involved with mental health issues and women's issues. Her account is unfortunately all too typical of a culture of violence and sexual misconduct that has been allowed to exist in plain sight for decades. It's not just individual musicians stepping out of line, but an industrial system of enabling them and then covering up their misconduct and crimes, silencing survivors, and normalizing assault. We hope Sheila's bravery helps other victims find their voice. Now, here's the other side of this coin. Alan S. Gutman, the attorney for Axl Rose, shared a statement with CNN saying, simply put, this incident never happened. Notably, these fictional claims were filed the day before the New York State filing deadline expires, though he doesn't deny the possibility of a fan photo taken in passing. Mr. Rose has no recollection of ever meeting or speaking to the plaintiff and has never heard about these fictional allegations prior to today. Mr. Rose is confident this case will be resolved in his favor. Interesting. So, again, statute of limitations had run out. New York has this new law extending this out until yesterday, I believe, is when it expired. So that is an interesting thing for a jury to consider. Why didn't she step forward sooner? Kennedy is an actress and a model. They keep emphasizing the fact that she's an actress, right? Who has appeared on the cover of the adult magazine Penthouse, that respectable publication that everybody should be subscribed to. In 1983, she was featured as Penthouse's Pet of the Year model. She has previously outlined the allegations against Rose, cited in Wednesday's lawsuit in her 2016 memoir, No One's Pet. Interesting. So it was in her memoir, right? And that was in 2016. So that was 7 years ago. So I guess at that point, the statute of limitations, that was over. And so we're going to wait to the day before this new law expires so you can step forward. I don't understand why she didn't step forward back in like 1989. Why didn't she come forward then? It's always a question I have in these cases. I think to myself, okay, this doesn't look good, but if it's this bad, why not go to the police and say, this guy did this to me? And see if you can figure it out closer to the time when it happened. Rose is the lead singer for Guns N' Roses, a popular heavy metal rock band, yada yada, featuring Slash, Duff McKagan, Izzy Stradlin, Steven Adler. Guns N' Roses has been nominated for Grammys and has hits such as Paradise City and Sweet Child O' Mine. Kennedy's lawsuit was filed under the pretense of New York's Adult Survivors Act, which went into effect in late November of 2022 and allows adult survivors of abuse to sue their abusers in New York, even if the statute of limitations on their claims had expired. The law has given adult survivors of assault 1 year to file lawsuits against their perpetrators and is set to expire on November 24th. So, definitely two sides to this coin. If this stuff really did happen, again, I think you would have done it closer to the point of the infraction, meaning you would have filed some kind of a lawsuit or complaint. Instead, 34 years later. And again, that doesn't discredit this person. But, you know, here's the deal, right? So she's a Penthouse Pet and he's a rock star. The culture that was prevalent during this time period was very conducive to this sort of thing. That's why they have this new term, you know, gender, what is it? Gender violence or something? Gender related. I mean, because he's a man and she's a woman, and he's supposedly acting on his male impulses, which, you know, if you read the allegations, it's basically saying, well, every man is capable of doing what Axl Rose did. And I would say, no, that's not true. But here's the deal. There was certainly a culture, and I think in some regards that culture might still be prevalent, although I don't think it's as widespread as it was during the 1980s and you could go back to the 70s as well, and to the late 60s. I would say from, say, like just before the Summer of Love up until like the mid 90s. And then again, not to say that the music, because it changed, some of the stuff that went on behind the scenes necessarily changed. I think some of those things probably were not as encouraged. I think back in the 80s, this stuff was literally encouraged. So I'm not excusing anybody, but if this is just a false allegation because you've got this new law that went into effect, and you're trying to make money before that law expires, and you're going to drag Axl through the mud here, that's really bad. But if you're Axl and you open yourself up to this kind of activity, and it's not like this is impossible, like this didn't happen. It could have happened. I mean, look at what happened with Don Henley, right, in 1980 with underage girls. That's all I'm going to say. People already know about that. But this is well within the possibility. I'm not saying it happened, but it could have happened. And this is a culture which should have, put pumped the brakes a little bit on this stuff. Don't encourage this to happen. I mean, I always think to myself, this is someone's daughter. This might be someone's sister. Eventually, it's going to be someone's mother as well. And when you think of it that way, it's just really sick, right? It's just sick. And it's not like Axl couldn't just recruit a groupie or somebody or a girlfriend. If he's got all that power, this stuff, I guess, for rock stars during this era, it was like another notch, another conquest. I don't understand all that stuff. I never quite got that. I just liked the music in most cases, and sometimes I didn't even like the music that much. But in the case of Guns, when they were a big deal, I was following. How could you not? I mean, like this alleges, this guy was on top of the world. 1989, Guns N' Roses, they came along and they brought this rough and tumble sound into the 80s, which had been dominated by keyboards and syrupy vocal harmonies and things that just, overproduced drum machines. And they bring this beast sound in, and people were ready for it, apparently. And that they were one of these transition bands that brought us the grunge movement later on, even though they're definitely not a grunge band. But I think they opened some doors to that, like Metallica did. And things haven't really been the same since musically, to add a little musical analysis here. And so anyway, you've got the Me Too movement over here. Is you have to believe everybody who makes allegations. Then you've got this gender stuff, which I never thought I would hear, like gender-related assault. In other words, because he's a man and she's a woman, if he were just like non-binary or whatever, then this would never happen. If he was just neutral and didn't have any inclinations to want to be with a woman, then the world would be a much better place. We wouldn't have children running around. Nobody would procreate. It would just be great. It'd be, the population would just die off and the world would heal itself from the human race. That's really the goal here. They want to make sure they can get rid of most of us. And so hence the band Follow No One. Am I being a little hyperbolic here? I am. I'm not into every crazy conspiracy theory, but when you read articles, it's just like, it's the man's fault for being a man, and it's not the woman's fault for being a penthouse playmate, right? They're both bad in this situation. In this aggressive behavior toward women is not good, and this baiting the hook and expecting everybody just to swim away, you're just like not dealing in reality. All right. So here again, Follow No One and their album Fate. Thanks, everybody. See you soon.